Hello, folks. It's Flying Jake, and I want to do a follow up video to that last one when I was talking about Cops, Season 12, Episode 14. Okay, I know I sound like a hard ass, but the thing is that we got to get ahead of these little brats. We got to show them who's boss. Got to pound some sense into them. And I just hope and pray, don't get me wrong, I hope and pray that Stephanie has grown up and, I don't know her, but I do hope and pray that she's made good of her life and she's doing well. I hope that she has everything going for her and that she hopefully is a proud mother of kids and that everything is going well for her. However, I cannot excuse her actions at 15. And nothing grinds my gears more than somebody who says, poor girl. Poor girl? That girl did it to herself. That girl did it to herself. She couldn't even make a day of her probation without screwing up. And I'm sick of all the excuses, she had a rough life. Let me tell you something. I know plenty of people who had rough lives. I mean, I'm going down the list. Sexual molestations, you name it. I know people who have, broken away from their situation and made good of their lives. And they didn't, screw up by doing that sort of crap. So I'm just, I had a rough life too. I have siblings who treat me like crap. I'm going to call my sister Diane. She lives down south. She's the one that you heard me talk in that video, the last video. It's a good thing my sister isn't here. She'd be threatening to rip my head off. Well, it's the truth. In what was supposed to be mine and my mother's home, we shared a trailer together down south. I was not free to voice my opinion about anything because Diane thought she ruled the place. This wasn't my home. It was everybody's and their brothers. Everybody and their brother thought they could step in and lay the law down to me and Mom. So when this episode aired in 2000, and I said the little brat needed pepper spray, Diane had a conniption fit. I'll rip your effing head off. You better shut your effing mouth. Blah, blah, blah. You don't know what happened in that girl's life. Cop out. Quit it with a cop out. My brother Daryl, I'm calling him Daryl, is a prick. When I was 9 years old, he'd take things away from me that he felt I didn't need. My uncle had given me a wind-up fire alarm, an antique fire bell. It was red, about maybe the size of a small dinner plate, a saucer, perhaps. And my little brother, I almost said his name. I want to keep his name anonymous. I'll call him Shane instead. He was cool. He is cool. And he and my little nephews on another brother's side, my other brother's kids, would play school with this fire alarm. We'd give it a quarter a turn and set it off. And, for a fire drill, we wound the sucker up all the way, pulled the little tab off the top. It had this little metal thing that would, during a fire, it would heat up and then fall off. And that's what would make the bell ring. But, we'd race each other down a mile-long driveway and see who could reach the bottom first for a fire drill, We had a lot of fun with that thing. Well, today, Daryl says, the only reason why I took that son of a bitch away from you is because you were wanting to set the thing off at 10:30 at night and blah, 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 blah. When was I ever out at 10:30 at night? He's full of it. The cardinal rule was that us kids had to be in the house by 7 p.m. So I don't know where Daryl got that from. But here he was at that time fixing to be a dad because his wife was pregnant with their first kid. We left Indiana to get away from his tyranny. We left to get away from his tyranny. And he moved to Iowa a couple of years later to be a thorn in my side. I was 13 years old, won the 1991 Science Fair. 1991 Science Fair. My project was a detailed report on electrical transformers and how they worked. My interest in power transformers stems from when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I was 6 years old. I was playing with my little brother. We lived in a trailer in Council Bluffs. No, Sergeant Bluffs, excuse me. And we were out in the yard, and during our game, the power pole was base, and I touched this pole, and I realized it's vibrating. So I stuck my ear to it, and I heard this. I was fascinated by that. I never knew that. I asked my mom, I said, what's that humming? And she said, well, that's the power going through the wires and into the transformer atop the pole. Well, I was fascinated by that. I wanted to know why they made that sound or what made them work, That's just how my mind was. So when I turned 13, I decided to do a science fair report on how an electrical transformer worked. I looked up articles about them on encyclopedias, and with help from my teacher's aide, who's long since deceased. I want to give a special shout out to Nancy Nielsen, though she is dead and gone. I want to give a shout out to Nancy Nielsen. She was awesome. But I did a report, and I remembered it as much times as I've said it verbatim. I still remember that report. I vowed not to let what Daryl did erase that from my mind. I wanted to hold on to that report, and so it was. I kept it inside. But see, my report on electrical transformers won first place, as well as the display, which had real electrical transformers, small ones that were pulled out of little things like adapters and different things that had different types of transformers. There's one type of transformer known as an air core transformer, because it doesn't have an iron core. Another one we had was in the casing. It couldn't be removed from its casing because the inside of it had compressed powdered iron in it. Okay? But in any rate, the ones that we could open up, we had the windings bare so people could see how it worked. The transformer has no moving parts, okay? And my report reads as follows. The transformer is a device used by power companies to increase or decrease voltage through electrical wires without having to increase or decrease the size of the wire itself. The typical transformer consists of an iron core with two sets of copper windings, a primary coil and a secondary coil. The two ends of the primary coil are connected to the source of electricity, such as a generator, and the two ends of the secondary coil are connected to the circuit that uses the power, such as a house or a business. The transformer works by means of electromagnetic induction. The secondary coil, though it is not connected to anything, sits in close enough proximity to the primary coil that it receives an electromagnetic field from the primary coil and converts that to energy, alternating current, in lower voltage or higher voltage, depending on the number of windings. If the secondary coil has more windings than the primary coil, the voltage is going to be higher. If the secondary coil has fewer windings than the primary, the voltage will be lower. So it went on and on, talking about how that worked, and if the secondary coil's number of turns equals that in the primary, the voltage is going to be the same. Daryl thought that this was corrupting my mind. Okay. This is what a transformer looks like. Here. And I had several transformers, and, after that science fair project, before Daryl came into the picture, I even took apart some things to get the small transformers out that, they didn't work, so I'd take the transformers out. And it wasn't like I was going to be a hoarder. I just had a few sitting around, that I thought it was cool. I liked their designs. Daryl said that was corrupting to my mind. And I'll never forget Thursday, July 4th, 1991, when he destroyed my science fair project. He took it out to his truck, threw it in his truck. I went out there to get it. He pulled me back in by the hair of my head and he said, "Don't even think about it." and he called me a vulgar name. He used to call me a blank blank hole baby, which I thought was very derogatory and sick. But I told him exactly what I thought of him. He was a pig. He had 2 kids at the time. Well, here this grown man was, okay, and Mom and my sister-in-law had gone to the store because my brother was coming back with his baby. My brother, who lives in Nebraska City, was coming up with his wife and my infant niece. So they were at the store getting food for that 4th of July weekend. And, well, after I called Daryl a pig, he chased me down, pinned me down in the bedroom I shared with my little brother, and he wailed my butt for what seemed like an hour, and I'm, just crying and everything. And he stood over me and bellowed at the top of his lungs, talking about how I always got away with too much crap, and now it's going to change because the big boy's in town, and he's putting his foot down, and he doesn't care what mommy says, and blah, blah, blah. That's an example of some of the crap I got in my life, okay? I got crap from Rosemary Blevins, Gene Redlinger, Jackie Childs, dorm parents in different schools for the blind, Rosemary Blevins slapped me in the face, accused me of stealing my own transistor radio. She said I took this transistor radio from the girls' dorm. No, I didn't. That was my radio. Jackie Childs wouldn't let me go outside at all when I was in her dorm. Gene Redlinger verbally abused me and, cut down a play script that I was writing, a medical play that I had some of the kids helping me out with at the Iowa Braille School, which is now long since defunct. But, those are an example of some of the stuff I had to deal with in life. And then when my sister Diane, grew distant and cold toward me, and I had to listen to her or else, even in the house that was supposed to be mine and Mom's, but wasn't. So I never once wanted to go and screw up my life or my health just because all this crap was happening to me. I focused on getting my things done and establishing myself and becoming my own man so I could get the hell out of there and leave all the pricks in the dust. Today I'm setting my sights on publishing a book. So I'm sick and tired of the, poor Stephanie, you don't know what went on in her life, bull crap. I like that song by Martina McBride. I think it's called That's the Way It Is. That's the way it is. You got to roll with the punches. That's the way it goes. You got to go where the wind blows. You crash and burn. You live and learn. It's hit or miss. That's the way it is. I think I screwed up on the. You live and learn. You crash and burn. It's hit or miss. That's the way it is. I love that song. If everybody had that attitude, they'd be better off. I'm so sick of the poor Stephanie and poor this person and poor that person. And that, I guess that's why I'm a hard ass, because I see no sense in it. I think of myself, I like to compare myself to the car we used to have. My mom used to have an old 76 Pontiac Bonneville, and she took her knocks and she kept on rolling. That's me, baby. That's the way I roll. I'm Flying Jake. Tell me what you think. Hit that like and subscribe. I'll be back with more content. Until then, you all take care and have a safe summer. Play it safe this 4th of July weekend, please. This I pray.